All right, Shaz Smith, it is March 13th, 2026. Welcome back to The Grit.
More importantly, David Lee Scales, it's Friday the 13th.
It's actually,
Boom.
it's also another important anniversary or date. It is 6 years to the day since they shut down the world for COVID.
Wow. So wow. 13 and 6. Those are ominous numbers, both of them.
Very much so.
So today is an ominous day.
It is, man. Lots going on in the world. Also, next week is St. Patrick's Day.
Is it next Thursday?
It's Tuesday.
Do you celebrate St. Patrick's Day? I know you love your corned beef.
I do.
I know you love your hash. But do you love green beer?
No, I don't love green beer, and I do celebrate somewhat. I don't like going into crowds, so I'm not going to go to like an Irish bar or anything like that, but I will make corned beef and celebrate at home, let's say.
How much Irish do the Scaleses have in them?
I have no clue. Great question.
How much Irish does the wife have in her?
No clue.
Wow, you guys aren't 23 and meat on up?
I think my dad did do it at some point, but I forget what the results were. It was really mixed, but there's got to be some Irish.
When there are leaks amongst the chromosome gathering businesses, how happy are you that you did not submit your DNA for just so you could see where you came from?
I don't even care about the leak.
I mean, but like if your genetic material was leaked, you wouldn't care at all?
I mean, dude, I'm just presuming hackers have access to everything at this point. I don't think there's anything to even salvage.
That's probably a good way to go through life, to be quite frank, is just assume the absolute worst about the industrial state in which we live.
I mean, I've put my social security number into various computers at various times, various platforms for different things. It's kind of like, I don't know. I can't trust that that's all protected.
Have you ever done it at the library
No.
in front of a lot of people staring at you?
No, have you?
Probably.
Well, anyways, welcome back to the show. This is The Grit, of course, Surf Talk. We need to know about your longboard journey. Has it even started yet?
No, my longboard journey got derailed out of the gate. I was ready, and I'm sure Devin was ready, but a family issue came up for dear Devin. So he did not make it down to Camp Shred. I went to Camp Shred, and I wandered around, and I passed the CI booth or campsite and did not see any longboards there on offer. And it was tiny waves. So did a couple laps, but guess who I met? David Lee Scales.
Who?
So I'm rocking up there, and a kind woman asks, "Hey, could you take our picture?" And so I take her camera, snap the picture of her and her handsome man, give the phone back, and head down to the beach to jump in the water. And dude says, makes reference to, he was the guy who called in about, should I buy my magic surfboard for my girlfriend or wife or whatever she was.
No way.
So, yep. Saw him in the flesh. I asked if he bought it, and he said yes, he did.
Hilarious.
He did not listen to our advice.
So they asked you to take their photo, but they didn't identify themselves before they did it?
I don't think she knew. And he was looking down, he said. So he didn't recognize it until he looked up and saw that I was the one taking their picture, and then said it afterwards.
What are the odds? That's so funny.
Very funny. I mean, the odds are probably 50% at Camp Shred.
That's true. Good point. Well, that you would see a listener, maybe 50%, but that listener's wife the listener who wrote in his wife, who he discussed in the email, would be the one who asks you for the photo. That's where the percentages get longer.
Yep, it's true.
Okay, so you will start longboarding once you connect with Devin, but I was thinking, this connects us to Joel Tudor and his recent appearance on Pinch My Salt.
How good was that?
Always great.
A spicy meatball.
It's also struck me that it's funny. We think of longboarding as being like longboarders as being like, casual, more hippie-like, calm. Yeah. It's funny that the most abrasive and controversial figure in surfing also happens to be the best longboarder that we've known ever.
An eggy fellow who gets really mad at calling surfboards eggs as well.
That's true. Never connected that dot. So yeah, did you actually watch the episode, or have you just been watching the clips?
I didn't. I watched the clips. Very amusing. I mean, Sterling, obviously Sterling's funny, and I love Sterling and Cousins' banter, but Sterling now is like become a great interviewer too, I feel. And maybe he always was, but I really appreciate, I don't know, what he unlocks in his guests.
Completely agree. Joel's the type of guest that you don't really have to unlock anything. He's just going to rant for the entirety of it. Sterling did very little actually asking him questions. He was actually kind of blown away, it seemed, by a lot of what Joel had to say.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you're saying about the other Joel or the other Sterling interviews. Certainly the Tom Curran one, he got amazing stuff out of. So I do agree with that. But among the things that Joel Tudor, if you did not go watch Pinch My Salt, or maybe you don't follow on Instagram, among the things that they discuss is he basically does a brutal takedown of Firewire.
Yeah.
Brutal takedown of Kelly Slater. He also, another thing that, and this is all stuff that like we've discussed certainly, and that I've heard him discuss before, but the one thing that never really gets discussed is the Harvey Weinstein Dirk Ziff connection, and he goes fully into that.
It's funny that, because that picture, it's weird, I guess, how things can go viral. Like the shelf life of virality is apparently infinite, right? Because it's not like that picture was a secret. That picture's been on Beach Grit a number of times. That picture has, it's not like it's hidden. It's not like it was scrubbed from the internet. And it's very much all those, like Gabriel Medina, Kelly Slater, Steph Gilmore, and who else? Julian?
A bunch of people. Julian was there. Kelly Slater was there. Coco Ho was there. It was a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, just like palling up with Harvey Weinstein, which... couple thoughts on this whole thing. So yeah, Joel bringing it up, I feel resurfaced it in a way that now it got more of a life than it ever had. I don't think that photo ever had a life, right? And I think that the life that it has now, of course, is related directly to Epstein-esque business that Weinstein, even at that point, right? It's not like people didn't know his reputation. So Ziff would have certainly known his reputation. I'm sure, let's give the surfers a pass, right? Like, I'm sure they were not reading Variety or Page Six or whatever, the rumors of Harvey Weinstein's horrible, bullying behavior. I mean, which was all what, like the sexual stuff, I think, came out later. But the bullying and the just a bad dude was front and center. And the fact that Ziff thought this was a good idea, A. B, how it's aged. And C, remember the idiotic, it's funny to look back at the idiotic high hopes of what they thought, what Paul Speaker and apparently Ziff thought they were going to do, with professional surfing. That I think there's Derek wrote about that resurfacing of the photo and what Joel said about it. And then Derek had a quote from Paul Speaker, who was like, that party was in New York. And Paul Speaker was like, of course we're in New York. We're setting up an office in New York, basically, that any legitimate sporting body in the world has an office in New York. Something inane like that, where what handicapped mentally people they all were. Like, Ziff is a good that he backed out, got away from the limelight. I mean, I feel Ziff took his Waterman of the Year award, talked about grumpy locals, and then realized, okay, I can't win, and just removed himself from the picture. And now it feels like it's, they have whatever, Crosby seems fine. It just is what it is. It's small potatoes, but ain't no big New York. This is us.
I think a lot of that talk and posturing maybe wasn't realistic, but it was just to drive investment. Like making those kind of setting those giant goals allows you to bring on the investment that they needed at the time, basically.
I guess so. And maybe they did, right? Maybe, I don't know what their books are. Maybe whoever was early days, their Jeep or whatever, came in at well more than they would have otherwise.
Yeah. So let's get kind of into the connection, because I had seen that photo as well, but didn't know about Ziff and Harvey Weinstein having any connection other than just being in the photo together. Obviously maybe they ran in the same circles, but I didn't know. But Joel, basically, what Joel says, and by the way, Joel delivers information in a way that makes me skeptical to just just accept that what he's saying is true.
Yeah. I think that's healthy. I think we should keep that in play.
He says a lot of things. He uses a lot of words, but I'm just like, this is salacious, and like I want to kind of buy into it, but the delivery again just makes me feel like I need to do an extra layer of research.
Wise.
Yeah. So what he says is specifically, yeah, Ziff is Harvey Weinstein's main man. I'm like, main man? That's not a very good definition. Like,
yeah.
Like, what exactly does that mean, you know? And he's like, yeah, you know, he helped him like Shapiro did with OJ, helped him like move funds and assets when he was going to jail so that it wouldn't all get liquidated. And I'm like, I don't remember Shapiro doing that for OJ, first of all. And I don't know that that's Ziff's business anyways. You know what I mean? Yeah. So very, very weird, convoluted. Anyways, I went to ChatGPT to figure out what the connection is between the two of them. And basically what it says is when the Weinstein brothers left Miramax and started their own company, obviously they needed capital. Ziff was one of the early investors. They listed 5 people. And he's always been on the board of directors the entire time. So I think that now, I think that Joel is correct that there was definitely a tie between the two of them that was more significant than I was aware of before. I wouldn't go so far as to call him a main man. But if he's on the board of directors, they're interacting regularly and presumably have some level of familiarity with one another. And that brings up what you were saying, which is, how do you not know what Weinstein's up to, basically?
Yes. Ziff certainly did. I mean, I won't say knew all of the details, but it wasn't everybody knew. I knew.
Well, when you hear the details that came out through legal proceedings about his actual...
Nobody knew that.
I have no idea what Ziff knew about the sexual stuff that Harvey was doing.
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he did not know.
Sure. But we've all had friends, male friends, that you spend time with socially, and they have a certain energy towards women, or they're super lecherous around. You go out to a bar and they're just too lecherous. You know what I mean? Like I know guys like that. I hopefully don't know anybody who's like Harvey Weinstein, but we know how dudes have just different energies towards women. And so I would think that Ziff would have been around him enough socially to understand like Harvey is pushing boundaries and crossing lines.
Well, I wonder
He's making
how
people
much
uncomfortable, you know?
Okay,
at the bare minimum.
I wonder how much this Epstein whole business is going to make the rich and powerful, of course, but also each one of us sort of recheck our those kinds of relationships specifically, right? Like you hang out with the dude who is lechy and you're like kind of you know try to make it less uncomfortable maybe and whatever, but you still like at this point if I was out with a dude who felt lechy like that, I'd be like, so long, bro, can't hang.
It depends. Again, it's like a sliding scale of degrees, right?
Yeah.
So if he's making there is a point where you would say that to him, but there's also a point of him behaving that you wouldn't say that to him.
Yeah.
And or you might have to have some version of a conversation with him.
But I wonder just particularly, I suppose it doesn't matter for you or I, but in the circles of rich and powerful, like Dirk Ziff has to look back on that and say, oh, like I just shouldn't, like I should have a, you know, zero tolerance policy now when it comes to the possibility, just because the shotgun spray, or I guess you could look at it and say, look at the shotgun spray of Epstein. Hit no one. All hit was the victims.
True. It hit the women who were involved, both the victims and the perps. They're the ones doing the jail time, but the dudes are all fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even... There also, would you take your photo with the person? Like if I was one of the surfers in that photograph, I would not have the foresight to be like, I don't even want to be photographed with the guy. Yeah. I know this guy is lecherous. Like if you have that lecherous friend in your friend group, can you not be in photos with them? Like you don't know exactly the worst behavior that they're doing, but eventually if that worst behavior comes back or comes out and you look back and you're standing there posing, smiling with the guy, it does reflect poorly on you.
Absolutely. I mean, that picture, again, with the whole, like, I think the Weinstein whole thing would have died. It would have just been a footnote if it wasn't for Epstein, right? It feels like this somehow the Weinstein and Epstein, maybe it's just the Stein, is somehow related, right? I mean, obviously it's related. It is powerful men abusing their positions, sexually, basically. And Weinstein was never underage, was he?
No.
Yeah, it was only.
Well, that wasn't what he was prosecuted on.
Yeah. But
I don't know of any rumors now.
Yeah. So, I mean, difference there, I suppose. But it feels like Weinstein's bad behavior has gotten a second life also with the Epstein stuff coming out. And I guess, of course, Weinstein's back going to trial for whatever, trying to get retried or whatever.
Well, they also, somebody did an interview with him in jail recently and published that. So,
but yeah, like, so do you think if you're Steph Gilmore, if you're Julian Wilson, if you're Gabriel Medina, do you look at that picture and say, ugh, or are you still fairly checked out where you're like, well, I don't know, it was a film producer who came?
I don't, who what?
I mean, who came to the party that I was at? I have no idea who he was. I really still don't know today.
I would not be, if I was one of those surfers, I would not feel bad that I'm in that photograph.
Would you be mad at Ziff? Would you say, you should have, man, you put me in a real sticky spot here, Dirk Ziff?
Yes, I would possibly feel that way towards Ziff, but I'd be more curious to hear from them what their experience was with Harvey and Ziff. Like, what'd you see? Was there any weird energy? Was he a dick to you, you know? Like, I'd just be curious about that stuff.
I will say, Ziff is, I mean, who knows what, where stones get turned over and what comes out from underneath them. But thus far in the men behaving badly saga or years, if having your picture with bringing Harvey Weinstein to a surf party and having him pose with surfers is like the worst that you're getting busted for, man, you're probably doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's almost scot-free, actually. Yeah. Well, the other thing that Joel brought up, which is, again, a story I've heard before from him, but love it. Kelly Slater, he reveals that Kelly Slater poses on social media with a blue belt for jiu-jitsu, even though he's never earned a blue belt. He's never gotten out of the white belt category. And the reasoning that Joel gives is Kelly was embarrassed to always be wearing a white belt in these photos with these greats who have black belts and different color belts that he, out of embarrassment, just grabbed. He said different color belts at different times, but the blue belt is the picture that they were talking about. And he just does it just to pose for the photos. So when he's seen online, people think that he has a higher ranking than he does.
How does Joel actually know this? I mean,
because Joel is the expert in that space and he knows a who's who of everybody.
I get that.
And he called Kelly out on it, and Kelly admitted it to him. Like, Kelly has not earned the belt.
I thought Kelly gave some half-hearted, if I recall, like, I got it, I just didn't finish the one thing or something like that excuse. Like, I basically have it.
That might have been a different conversation elsewhere, but Joel says in this piece that, like, I don't think he said Kelly fessed up to it, but the way that, again, Joel delivers the information is that it's fact that Kelly does not, and Kelly's never even claimed to have gotten the ranking. He's just doing it for show. And Joel's called him out on it and had conversation with him about it.
Okay. I mean, it's so, are we assuming Joel, see, I'm going to say, it's a real tough, how hard is this to parse a jiu-jitsu spat between Kelly Slater, who's self-aggrandizing and, let's just say, narcissistic, and Joel Tudor, who, while completely amusing, spouts things that are not true fairly regularly.
I don't think it's that hard to parse.
His takes are not altogether accurate, I will say.
Okay. I will give you that, except when it comes to jiu-jitsu. That's the one thing that Joel can talk about, that and or longboarding, where I do take it as whole truth.
Except for, like, Joel Tudor knows every jiu-jitsu BJJ instructor on the face of the earth. What if Kelly's like, no, there's this one private dude that I go to and he gave me my blue belt.
So I'm sure that Kelly could communicate that to Joel if that were true. But I think what is happening is that Kelly has access to, the notable names in jiu-jitsu because they like surfing and they want to hang with him. So Joel does know who Kelly goes to. And I think if Kelly was going to, is it called a dojo?
I don't know. I don't think so. Is it? No.
A studio. If he was going to a jiu-jitsu studio on his own privately, I think that Kelly would also communicate that to him.
But okay, like what belt do you think Mark Zuckerberg has, right? Like these guys who get private coaches coming in to their personal studio. Can't you I mean, I don't know. It's not like you have to go to the internet board of jiu-jitsu belt givers and, I don't know what the process is, but I'm sure the process is your instructor who is able to dub you whatever, gives it. I'm sure I'm sure Kelly has all kinds of I did get it. I guarantee Kelly is not fessed up to not being a blue belt.
Yeah, I look into it. I think that what Joel stated was true.
I recall a Beach Grit story where Kelly went after him before and was like, yes, I am. I am a blue belt. You don't know nothing.
Okay. I also I've never heard of Kelly in the way that Zuckerberg has jiu-jitsu instructors coming to teach him privately. That's not my understanding with Kelly. Kelly
seems like he does jump in for a little workout every once in a while.
He jumps in recreationally with notable names and then takes photos with them, and kind of, I think he's very interested in the sport, it seems, but I don't know that he's actually committed to a regular practice.
Yeah.
And then also, while I don't know the process to get a belt or a ranking, I do know that earning it from a certain master or a certain person is better. Yeah. And notable. And you use that on your resume. I got mine from Henzo Gracie, or whatever. Yeah. So, I think Joel knows they all know enough of the same people to where Joel does know Kelly's level of practice and can kind of call it a spade a spade.
I mean, that's fair play right there, that Joel can look at Kelly and say, that is not a blue belt.
But again, in the peeling back the onion of Kelly Slater's kind of personality and character we have been doing recently with the stab in the dark thing, this is a real blemish to me. I'm just like, bro, if I had a friend in my friend group who is doing something like that just for posing and just for clout, artificial clout, I'd call him out on it. I'd be like, are you kidding me? That's embarrassing.
I mean, I think Kelly is probably so competitive, so in Kelly mind all the time that he just can't help it, right? He looks down at his waist and sees that white belt tied there and feels, and his hand just reaches out. And before he knows it, he's in the picture with the blue belt and his mind hasn't even thought it out.
That could be. It's just bizarre behavior to me.
I mean, I like turtles.
But let's be quite honest. Kelly Slater had the opportunity to really sort of age gracefully, right? To age out of the competitive thing into his next phase gracefully. Who's a good example of this writ large, not just surfing? How do you feel? What grade
gracefully?
What grade do you give Tom Brady?
I don't follow it that well. He does not seem. I don't think that was an A exit.
I feel I think I always feel cringy. I know it's not his fault and whatnot, but I'll see Tom Brady clearly single man dressing, right? Dressing like a single dude, i.e. out trawling for babes, and then see him in Page 6 with I don't know, getting cuddly with Scooter Braun's ex-wife, and I'm like, oh man, that doesn't look good, right? You should keep your private life, work extra hard. I know it's hard, but work extra hard to keep your private life private. So I'll give Tom Brady a C for that.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods. What about Tiger? How is Tiger Woods aging? Tiger Woods, of course, had a massive blow up straight out of the gate, but these days, what do you give him?
Are we talking about their behavior outside of the sport or their exit from the sport?
Behavior outside, how they've behaved since, right? So of course Tiger came out like an F. Yeah. But since I see him mostly from, I'm not following the thing you love to not talk about very much, but these days I see him playing with his son, Charlie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
What I've seen of him is just his face. He looks he's not aging gracefully.
No.
Like, he looks bloated and he looks like he's a heavy drinker, maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
But it's almost like a cartoon version of himself.
It's true. He doesn't look good, but attitude-wise, again, I'm not studying daily. Dear listener, call me in and tell me what Tiger Woods is up to. But when I see him, it is golf outings or, his son Charlie is coming up and it's playing with his son. So I'm going to give him a B at this point right now.
Okay.
Kelly Slater, I think from winning Pipe at 50 or whatever, right? How many years ago was that? 4 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, 4 years ago.
4 years ago. So that was it. He had an A+ was there for the taking. And he is gone. Kelly's in like D territory now. He is like doing dumb stuff, like being dumb. I mean, I don't know. It's not graceful. None of it looks good. The stab in the dark thing was a disaster.
No, I have different take though. He's now focusing on family man life, which is a good move. So the stab in the dark thing was a deviation, of course, but actually spending quality time with the wife or the girlfriend and kid, and now coming kids, is the right move.
Theoretically, you think Kelly's actually spending quality time with the family?
It appears that way. Mm-hmm. I think that's why he was so absent during the stab in the dark filming, or difficult to pin down, is because it was with the family.
I heard different things. I heard different things about what he was actually doing.
Oh, what'd you hear?
From an inside placed source.
Did you, by the way, real quick, did you hear the I Like Turtles drop that I played?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. I didn't know if I had it live or on preview, but
yep,
okay,
no,
good.
It's perfect.
Okay,
perfect. Good. Perfectly well timed. That Kelly Slater always has so many things that he's taken care of for himself, like a massage here, or acupuncture here, or a wellness thing here, or cryo da-da-da here, that it's all self-care. And that's why things get pushed off. But I don't know. That's just what I heard.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, well, back to Joel Tudor and Pinch My Salt. Any thoughts on well-worn territory, but he goes hard on Firewire and the idea of... Well, actually, maybe this is slightly new territory. He goes hard on their business practices, but he really goes into the fake eco greenwashing kind of idea of, you can't call your boards eco. And I don't think they do anymore. They used to get stamped by this sustainable surf organization, and they called the boards eco-friendly. And I don't think that they have that laminate on them anymore. But... They have in the past anyways used that. And he's like basically talking about your $200 outer known eco jeans that are made out of whatever. Once you're shipping them across an ocean, they're no longer eco-friendly. You know what I mean? And he's talks about this again, want to look into this. The maritime law that if you're 200 miles off the coast, you can just dump your trash at sea. And that's what all of the tankers do.
That's true.
I'm sure that it's true that you can do it, but the fact or stating that all cargo freighters do it, or that's everybody's like common business practice, I don't know that is true. I'm sure there's some that hold themselves to account.
That could be.
Yeah. So, anyways, just calling out the whole greenwashing thing of Kelly and his various businesses.
Yes, I mean, so. I'm of two minds of this, to be quite honest. I've sort of settled into, yes, it is greenwashing, but I also think Kelly is trying, right? Like, I think with Outer Known specifically, of course, like once you put it on a boat and to sell it as ultra green, but I think the practices, the construction of the clothing, all of it, I think he's really trying to do a more sustainable clothing, right?
Yeah, than traditional manufacturing practices.
Sure. Than just like a straight, Chinese factory sort of thing.
Right.
And so I'll give him credit for trying.
Yeah. Well, if you're really in the interest of the environment, you want to be creating a new brand of anything. We don't need another brand.
I mean, if he really cared, yeah, he would be like, Outer Known would be, hey, go down to the Salvation Army, everyone, and grab something, and we'll sew an Outer Known patch onto it.
Exactly. Or if you want to implement those better business practices, you can get involved in
Hemi, you can't use them. Okay, you got to put them away or something. They keep connecting.
It's not affecting my hearing you.
Man. Hemingway.
Go.
Hemi, where did you put them? They're connected. Where are they? Okay, you gotta leave them closed. Put them in the car, maybe. Check.
Yeah, you're fine. You can also just turn off the Bluetooth thing on your computer so it doesn't connect.
I thought it would interfere with this, but
maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways, Kelly could also, if he was really interested in altering business practices for how jeans are made, he can get involved in that portion of the industry without creating his own brand. You know what I mean?
Sure. Could have gone and worked with Levi or something like that.
Yeah.
Kelly Slater / Levi Greener.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on from Joel Tudor, go watch that if you're interested. I love Joel. Super entertaining.
Yeah, entertaining.
The other thing that just dropped, I believe yesterday, but I got a chance to watch this morning, is John Florence's latest series, Vela. This episode is called Edge of the Ocean. It's about a 15, maybe 18-minute piece documenting a lot of their travels and their surfing and their lifestyle on the boat.
One thing I did not see coming out of this was Andrew Kidman going on double barrel shotgun blast right into John's family and face.
Dude, I definitely read that. I feel like I screenshotted it so we could discuss, and I forgot to add it to my notes. But yeah, that was a shocker for sure.
We could talk about it right now. I mean, the whole thing, I mean, we can get into Vela too. You want to talk about what you liked about Vela? Give it the David Lee scales, thumb up, thumb down.
Definitely 2 thumbs up. Did you watch it?
I haven't watched it yet.
Dude, it's incredible. Like,
yeah.
If you are the greatest surfer in the world, there is no better way that I can imagine you using your time.
I mean, talk about, he is, to me, John is the polar opposite of Kelly Slater. Like, I look at Kelly and I think that is exactly how I would not be using my time, and that is not a good look. And I look at John thinking, everything he touches turns to gold. He makes the right step every time. The right step with the family, right step putting him on the boat, right step surfing, right step filming it, right? Like, not just being because it is interesting. It's an aspirational and inspirational.
I would say a better opposite end of the spectrum from John is Gabriel Medina.
Yeah.
Because I think I don't know Gabriel's personal motivations at all, but as the viewer, it seems to me Gabriel is surfing with an end goal in mind.
Yes.
It's a career. Like, when he started, there was an end goal of a career, a way to make a living. And when he's doing it, the end goal is points to be accrued and accumulated for world titles, which then the career, money involved. There's a focus on something that just isn't the act itself. Could be wrong. Maybe he loves surfing more than anybody else on the planet. I don't know. But John, the pursuit seems more pure. And the end, everything that comes with it is just happenstance. You know, he would be doing it whether there was any money attached to it or not.
And so I haven't watched Vela yet. I will watch it. But I knew from the gate, or assumed from the gate, that, of course, this is just going to be another beautiful production. It's going to be, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And then read Andrew Kidman just kicking him right in the groin out of nowhere.
So real quickly, before I read Andrew Kidman's thing, the surfing in this episode is unreal. Like, unreal.
Like, John just crushing it.
I mean, John.
Nathan? Who else is on the ride?
Just John. It's just John, his wife, and his kid. Lauren does a bit of the narration. You get to hear from her. You get to see the baby a lot. Living in a cramped space, everybody getting seasick, all the hardship that comes with it. But he finds this perfect right and just goes to town on it in a way that's like, everything you know about John, love about his surfing. This was like a concentrated version of just the best. Like every turn was spectacular. So for that alone, you should watch it.
How long is Vela?
15 minutes, 20 minutes, 15? Something like that. Yeah, less than 20.
Great, so, going in.
Actually, I'm looking at it right now, 15 minutes and 52 seconds.
Done and done.
Yeah, fully enjoyable. Anyways, yeah, Andrew Kidman, I'm going to read this post, but I will do it with the caveat that while I agree with so much of what Andrew Kidman says, it's a little bit harsh to point the finger right at John and John PYZEL.
I don't understand.
You don't understand why he did that?
Well, read it and then let's discuss.
Okay. A couple of days ago, this is Andrew Kidman, words from his post. A couple of days ago, I drove up to Kira to meet my son. I walked up the beach and found under the boardwalk where some of the homeless people sleep. And I found him under the boardwalk where some of the homeless people sleep.
Okay, stop there.
Okay.
We need to discuss. So, again, he went looking for his son who was with the home. Is his son homeless? Does his son have a problem?
He gets to that in the next sentence. He says he was tucked in under there filming his mate Curtis riding a surfboard made by George Greeno.
Got it. Okay, I got it.
He was probably in pursuit of shade.
Yes.
So he's under the bridge to shade while he's filming. In the last 20 years, George has made no more than 10 surfboards. This was one of them, dubbed the Child's Board. Gus was happy. Curtis was struggling, but having a crack. It was his first time riding it. As I walked back to the car, I picked up the broken pieces of surfboards and plastic that washed around the volcanic rocks at Kira. As I got to Kira Surf Club, there was this broken surfboard laying in the middle of the grass with nobody taking responsibility for it. The fins had been taken out. And I've been wondering to myself, how would two Johns, John Florence and John PYZEL, feel if I showed up in Hawaii and started flooding their market with mass-produced imported surfboards? How would they feel when punters broke them and then just tossed them in front of their lawns? Or worse still, just left the broken piece in the Aukai Park for the native Hawaiians that work for the council to deal with, not to mention where's the other half of the board, just floating in the Tasman Sea somewhere, gradually releasing its tiny foam bubbles for the wildlife. Picking the broken surfboard up and putting it in the back of my car reminded me of picking up McDonald's trash, noting that at least McDonald's trash is recyclable now. And now I'm wondering what to do with this other half of the surfboard. John Florence, next time you sail this way, will you putt down the Tweed River, filming yourself as you collect the rubbish from its banks and collect this from me at the designated point? Or is there some recycling policy your company has? These are your words. These are your words from your company. Quote, "We're building things that motivate us to get outside and to thrive in the elements while doing our best to protect the ocean and the land." End quote. Someone I knew once knew said, it all comes out the same. It all comes out of the same oil well. John Florence, as you sail around the world broadcasting your privileged life, I hope you're enjoying the party your president just started.
I mean,
one final zing.
Shots triple fired. Like, I just don't get it, man. I just don't get how you point the finger at John Florence and John PYZEL for a broken board, unless there's something I don't know. Unless there's no way that PYZEL is flooding the market with imports, right? He's getting those shaped in Australia.
Well, no, he shows the board.
Oh, is it a pop out?
Yeah, he shows the board in the post that he picked up, and it's the styrofoam. I don't know. I think it's got like a soft top.
Okay.
With just like a soft portion on the top, and then the bottom is more laminated like a hardboard.
Okay.
And the inside is obviously styrofoam. EPS foam.
Okay.
So
he's mad. So he's mad that PYZEL and John are making foam boards.
These cheap foamy pop outs, and then shipping them to Australia, and people are breaking them, and then obviously letting half float out to sea and leaving half on the lawn.
I will. Stay true here, just like I think Jerry Lopez, bummer. I'll say also a bummer PYZEL doing that. I think we don't need more foam boards in the lineup.
Well, this was Joel Tudor's point as well, was we need to institute a ban, basically, just like we banned straws. Like if you want to actually like this is obviously there's way more straws produced than there are surfboards, but there's no reason to be producing these surfboards that are breakable easily and that end up in landfills that there's no way to recycle.
So fair play on Kidman there, though he should have opened the aperture. I know that he saw or found a PYZEL John collab, one of these, but should have said open the aperture there to anyone making these boards.
Yeah, and I think it made sense. That happened to be the one that he found, and so that's why it's very pointedly directed at the Johns. But I think the bigger picture, there's a bigger problem. Like you said, open the aperture. There's a bigger problem and a bigger picture that the conversation definitely applies to.
And then going after, though, Outer Known, you know, I guess, I mean, not Outer Known, I'm sorry, going after Florence.
Yeah.
And then ending it off with the, like, being a flashy sassy pants with your life, like going and shoving your privilege down everybody's throats. That's where I was like, whoa, Andrew Kidman, come on now.
Yeah. Well, I agree with the sentiment for sure. And it is a problem. Like
I agree with that. I didn't realize that was a foamy.
Yeah, it was.
I thought it was just a John PYZEL board.
So even though I agree there's a larger conversation to be taking place, I do like that Kidman called him out. You know what I mean? Like, I like that was his experience. He found that board. That's who he's directing this conversation to. And I like that he's not afraid to poke him.
I mean, definitely. Now it all makes a lot more sense to me. The only part that I guess now I have beef with is just the end. Like, of, wait, what? Like, showcasing your life thing? Like, it doesn't seem, John doesn't smack to me of, like, vanity, what he's doing. It's like,
yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. It obviously is an incredibly expensive endeavor that he's involved in. And so there's just an understanding that is what it is, but it definitely doesn't feel like vanity. It feels like love of a lifestyle, and actually kind of a minimalist lifestyle in pursuit.
Totally.
And vanity in that.
And I'll also say, again, aspirational and inspirational, right? Like, how many people will see that, and like our wonderful Surfari blah blah who predated this, but how many people will see that and think, you know what? Yes, which that's great for the earth, right? I mean, if they're buying a yacht, of course not, but if they're like selling their possessions, buying a little sailboat, and living, you know, as minimalist as they can, that's great.
I watched it, and I did feel the aspirational aspect that you're talking about, but it wasn't a sail. I'm like, man, I am not cut out for sailing. Do not want to do that at all. But the stripping away all of the add-ons that we just put on our life and the consumption and just focusing on the minimalist things that I truly enjoy would be a good move.
Yeah, totally. So Andrew, I stand corrected on part one. I was like, what? But now I get it. And I am with you firmly. I hate foamies of any kind, shape, colorway. Like, I get the, if you can't beat them, join them mentality, right? Wavestorm comes on and they're selling the, you know, highest selling surfboard of all time. Howard Core Surf manufacturer's not supposed to jump in that game too, right? A real bummer. I mean, it's a no-win because, of course, they're in a razor thin margin business already.
Yeah. And
I'm sure the margins on those foamies are a lot better than on a traditional surfboard.
Yeah, the manufacturing's way easier and the margins are better. The hard costs are lower. But just to be clear, so we're not called hypocrites, hard surfboards also aren't eco-friendly.
Yes.
But they're more durable. And they're fixable. You can repair them when they do get dented or damaged. So that's the difference. Is you have these Costco, certainly the Costco wave storms that people just break and leave in a trash can at the beach. You know,
I mean, which I guess that would be the final solution on all this, is you ban them as unecological, like all of them, because then now, you know, the PYZELs and the Bioluses don't have to compete with wave storm for that dollar. Man, it's really weird. Went for a fun surf this morning. There's finally a little pulse down here, Cardiff by the Sea. Saw some dude coming into the parking lot with 2 wave storms on the racks on the roof. And I was like, grow up, man. What are you doing? What are you doing coming to, it's fun out there. It's like, you know, not big and crazy, but there was legitimately fun waves. What are you doing as an adult paddling out on a foamy when there's actual surf? Yeah. Grow up.
Well, I think Joel might have made this point too, which is everything that those boards have brought with them into the water and the way that it's redefined etiquette in the water is an even bigger problem, actually. So there's no, I mean, an argument could be made that they're fun, quote unquote. So they're,
no,
but they're, other things are fun too. Other boards are fun as well. So they're not exclusively fun, but they come with all the baggage.
And they're not fun when there's actual waves.
Right.
Breaking.
They're less
like
fun.
They're fun when there's maybe a 1 foot day. That's super crowded. But other than that, like, again, I was sitting in the lineup or drove in the parking lot, was already irked, and then sitting in the lineup, and there was a dude on a foamy shortboard out there, and I was like, what's the damn point, man? Are you 4 years old? What is the point? Like, go get a real surfboard.
Yep. Agreed. As we know, Kauai banned styrofoam coolers, like ice chests, you know? Because those are like one-time use, basically, is what people are doing with them. They're on their way to the beach, swing by 7-Eleven, grab the ice chest, and then leave it in the dumpster when you leave the beach. So they banned those, and yes, something similarly could be done. Actually, I think, now that I'm thinking about it, they banned bodyboards that are made the same way, too.
The cheap ones, I think.
Yeah. The styrofoam ones. Yeah. So anyways, on to something. Let's move forward to that legislation. Remember last week we were talking about the John Waters doppelganger for you, and that John Waters was sad that perverts don't exist. Yeah. And then you were bummed that you've never been solicited in the bathroom. I don't know if you were bummed, but
I mean, I was dubious. I was as dubious about the perverts in the bathroom as I am about the things that come out of Joel Tudor's mouth.
Right.
Plausible, but I don't know.
So we got a couple of stories from listeners, if you'd like to hear them. I don't know if we should read more than one. One of them's kind of a surf story. Maybe we do one a week.
Okay. Perverts in the wild?
Perverts in the wild. I'm not sure which one I want to read. This one's kind of a surf story. The other one's not a surf story at all, but more pervy. Let's do the more pervy one. We'll save the surf story one. Picture this. Actually, hold on. Hey, DLS and Chaz, longtime listener, second-time emailer. I had regulated this trauma that I'm about to share to the back of my mind until I heard your guys' episode last week. Chaz started talking about having never been solicited in a toilet, and bam, like a baseball bat to the head, it all came back to me at once. Picture this. Barely 18 years of age and forced to leave the mid-north coast of New South Wales to work as an insurance agent in northern Sydney. Young and naive, I still thought the world was a safe place. One lunchtime, I made my way across to the local shopping center to eat, and I realized I needed the toilet. As I walked in, I noticed a man in his 20s hanging around by the wash basin. I thought he must have been waiting for his son, who I assumed was in one of the several cubicles. I guess they refer to bathroom stalls as cubicles in Australia. Yeah. But notice that he did give me somewhat of a lingering stare whilst I made my way to an empty cubicle to sitspinkle and take a dump. As I'm sitting there minding my own business, imagine my surprise to see this guy's head pop up under the cubicle door. He must have had a quick lunchtime rendezvous planned and thought that I was the target of his affection. In my youthful shock, rather than a swift shoe kick to the face, I stupidly asked, "What are you doing?" Before his head slowly reversed out of the toilet cubicle. Shock, fear, confusion. It took me a minute to regain my composure and to double check the door, that the toilet door was locked. To make matters worse, When I finished my business, I opened the door to see that the dude was still there looking at me. I figured that he would have hightailed it out of there, but no, he was standing his ground and embracing the moment, looking right at me. I walked over to the basin, washed my hands before telling him to piss off and leaving the toilet. I felt like 007 would have, shaken, not stirred. This was the last place I assumed that I would be accosted. Shopping centers everywhere now have become dens of depravity, and it took me several months before I could even go back into a Woolworths without breaking into a cold sweat. What motivated this, quote, man to get on the floor and slide on his back into my cubicle? I didn't realize he did that. I thought he just looked under the door. Was I really that cute when I was younger? Did I look like I was batting for the other team? So many unanswered questions. Now, some 35 years later, I'm reminded by the grit of this incident. I need to take a shower. Keep work, Adam in Noosa.
Thank you so much, Adam, because this is what exactly the kind of thing that I was doubting, right? Because I hadn't heard this. I had heard people tell stories of people, right? But I never heard from a horse's mouth. And Adam, thanks for clearing it up. Now I believe that bathrooms are or were zones of perversion.
Sad. It makes me a little bit sad to think that your sexual liaisons, I mean, nobody chooses a bathroom as their first choice of where to do this. So they were kind of pushed into the margins of society, gay people at a time where the public restroom became the last place that they could actually do this. Filthy.
I mean, yeah. But I wonder at some point, though, like, especially, you know, I don't know, more recently, let's say, if that's part of the thrill is being so dirty.
You think? I think that's a very, very minor kink. I think part of the thrill of being in public is a more kind of common kink, but the dirtiness associated with a public bathroom is the kink. That would be weird.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. Yeah. Well, I'm like, would you have kicked head?
I think that would have been like an automatic reflex.
But the fact that it wasn't, I'm going to trust Adam here. The fact that he didn't makes me think that wouldn't be your first would be shock and like, what?
If I thought that this person was going to accost me, yes, I would physically harm them. But I think that my reflex would also be to kick, and I would have to fight I would want to fight the reflex. I would be like, I don't want to kick this person in the face, so don't kick him in the face. If there's some sort of confusion here for a reason why he was doing this. If I felt like he was trying to come in and get me, then I would kick in the face.
Sure. Definitely. But I mean, I think the initial reaction, though, would be to try to justify, or my initial reaction certainly would be try to justify why this is happening. This is very strange. Maybe this is the plumber, or this is a the cleaning guy. Yeah.
So a couple of things now. I like when we do a really deep dive and the layers get more interesting because now I think you're right. This guy's kink might have been the filthiness because why did he get on his back and slide?
That's what I'm saying.
You could have just looked over the top. You could have knocked on the door politely. You could have even bent over and looked with your head upside down under the door. Getting on your back and sliding in is filthy.
There's a lot of ways to look into a cubicle, a stall, right? That way is the grossest way.
Yeah, the little crack. You just put one eye in the crack.
Yep. This way is A, the grossest way, B, dangerous on multiple levels, right? And so maybe it's the dirty, the thrill of public, and the frisson of getting kicked in the head.
Yep. This
like
guy was
all that together. Then you just stand there and observe your masterwork afterwards.
This guy was a freak.
Yeah.
And I would like to point out to Adam also, this was about you. This wasn't a guy who had a arranged. Yeah. He didn't have anything prearranged with anybody else. He was sizing people up as they came in, and he liked you, and he went for his move. Because if it was a prearranged thing, or if somebody else was consented to this and they were planning to meet there would have been a knock. There would have been some sort of communication. You can't just slide in. It's a bold move. And it was
if this happened to you, upon reflection, would you be flattered that, like, you know what? This David Lee Scales, he's got a certain je ne sais quoi that just gets him. Or would you be like, man, there's something, apparently I am vibing deeply perverted?
I think the flattery would have set in later. Like, it would have taken like a month or two, and then I would have been like, you know what? I must have something that guy liked. But initially, I would not have felt the flattery. And I really am questioning this guy's kink. And so the flattery, I don't really respect his opinion very much at this point. Like, him choosing me is not that impressive because he makes terrible choices in his life.
I mean, let's expand it just a little further. Did Buffalo Bill choose that girl in the well for any other reason than she was just a target?
She was a target of convenience, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't like...
Oh, so no, he did choose her.
He did, right? What about her?
Because she was plump and he was building a skin suit. So he was finding heavy set girls.
There we go. So...
We're talking about the Silence of the Lambs for anybody who didn't catch that.
But so Adam, though, you were sized up. I think David Lee is right. This was not a missed connection. You were sized up. I think you need to take a hard look in the mirror and think why you were sized up. Maybe it's purely based on your good looks. But you need to dig deep into your heart and wonder, is there something there that I was exuding?
We'll never know because we don't know what that guy was into.
Well, but
was he into skinny? Was he into weird looking? Was he into...
That's true.
Certain skin color, you know?
That's true.
You don't know?
That's true. We gotta go back to the source. I'm gonna go back to that bathroom and just wait it out.
You know, if there's just an off chance that the perpetrator in this story is listening to the show, can you please call in and let us know some of the backstory? We would love to know what your kink is. All right. Anything more to say about that before we move on?
Nope. I think we unpacked it very well.
All right. I'm going to give one more story then.
Yeah.
I like this other one. Being from the UK, we headed down to France most summers to camp in the forest and hopefully, with a bit of luck and an inevitable calf burning hike through the sand dunes, discover a few empty peaks. A friend had introduced me to an off-the-beaten-track camping spot in the forest that we'd revisit most summers. A nice clearing far enough away from the main roads with a really consistent sandbar hidden just over the dunes that would mostly provide most years. As each season passed, we watched sadly as the lineup numbers grew, as great spots do, and the forest clearing gained a few more tents and people sleeping in cars as they stumbled into this little nook too. The growing crowd would not deter us. We figured perhaps a pre-season strike mission would be the best solution to an empty forest and a few uncrowded waves. We headed to our usual spot just outside of Hossiger, knowing that the banks might not quite be fully established and the water temp requesting wetsuits rather than board shorts, but at least it was going to be empty. After a long drive south, we finally pulled into the clearing of the forest with about an hour before the sunset. Stiff-legged and aching from the drive, but chomping for a sundown sesh, we were determined to check the waves. However, with almost a year since the old tent had seen any use, we decided that it would be a good idea to pitch it first rather than scratching around in the twilight looking for lost pegs or a missing fly sheet. In hindsight, I realized that this may have not been such a clever idea. When there's surf on the line, you'd be surprised how swiftly a tent can be erected. And leaving the tent half open, we sprinted down the trail in the trees and towards the dunes. Now, it had dawned on us that even though the clearing was void of surfers, there were a couple of cars belonging to dog owners walking through the trails around the clearing. That was okay, though. We thought they'd be gone soon enough, and we'd be waking up to gentle offshore winds and the promise of an incoming fun and peaky swell. During the trail sprint, my friend voiced the observation that all these dog walkers seemed to be men. A strange fact, But these thoughts were soon put to the back of our minds as we cleared the dunes and passed the dilapidated World War II bunkers that litter so many French beach breaks to reveal a couple of fun-looking peaks. Not epic, but a perfect opportunity to wash off the travel. It was right about this moment that my other mate, who'd been lagging a little behind us, shouted something along the lines of, "Hey lads, I just noticed that none of these dog walkers have any dogs or even leashes." Now our attention was no longer on the waves. It didn't take long to realize that some of these, quote, dog walking men were also hand in hand and suspiciously disappearing into the denser areas of the surrounding woods. A quick look behind us showed that they had all become enlightened to we had all become enlightened to this situation simultaneously. Not only was this clearly a local off-season cottaging spot for those in search of soliciting some temporary male companionship amongst the French bushes, but we had literally set up our tent slap bang in the middle of it. The only thing missing was a sign hanging on the tent flap saying "Bienvenue." It turned out that we unanimously agreed that our post-travel surf wasn't needed after all. And after rushing a breakdown of the campsite, we decided that it might be time to just start paying for our campsites from then on.
Amazing. Wow. So this is all happening. Yeah, I guess I'm just the blind one. This is happening all around, or I'm the unadventurous one, or I'm just wrong place, wrong time.
It's not happening all around. I think it's in designated areas. You just haven't stumbled into those designated areas yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to be on the lookout more.
Yeah. This also jogged a memory for me that now that I think about it is so wrong of an experience that happened when I was young. I was not solicited, but we used to walk home. It was middle school. So whatever age middle schoolers are, 13 or something.
12, 13, 14, I think.
So like maybe like puberty, some kids in class are going through puberty, other ones aren't, but like that age, highly impressionable, sexual, the ideas of sex are just kind of all fresh and new. But walking this street was directly at the, ran into the school. So lots of school children leaving on this street. There was a dude who owned a house who had his garage open. And as me and my buddies were walking down the street, leaving school that day, he was like, "Hey guys, you want to come check something out?" And he calls us into his garage. He had porno mags in his garage that he was selling to kids. And he just like a giant stash that like he was done with, that he's like, "You guys want to buy some magazines?" And we're like, yeah, actually we would love to buy some magazines. But I don't think we actually did the transaction. Like we didn't have money, we didn't have Venmo back then. But this was a full grown adult male with a porno stash that was offering to sell magazines to 13-year-old boys.
I mean, just greasy and wrong.
How crazy is that?
Yeah. Different, but like that story, I mean, remember flashers and stuff? When was the last time a flasher got busted? Like I remember there was a flasher everybody knew in my town. I mean,
I just thought it was a story. Like I didn't know there was actual flashers. I thought it was, again, one of those old wives' tales that like you just hear about, but nobody ever knew one.
No, but there was like like there was a flasher like this. Like I don't know, but let's assume that this dude, that's just what people did in the 80s. And it's weird or 90s. Like he's got his porno mags. He sees, hey, I can make some money. These kids will be happy. There's a win-win situation.
He was thinking,
like now that's like would be straight. That guy would get locked up for pedophilia.
You would do jail time nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I bet you if I even reported that back then, nothing would have been done about it.
No, they would have said, "Did you buy any?"
Exactly.
Which issue?
What issue did you get? And at the time, honestly, I probably wasn't the best at reading pervy vibes, but I didn't get pervy vibes from him. Yeah. To me, it just seemed like this guy's done with these magazines and he knows, as a kid, interested in sexuality for the first time, I would love those magazines. So he's doing me a solid, you know?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's like, in his mind, he was probably like, this is a win-win. I'm getting paid to finish with these. These are going to another good home, and kids get their mags that they can't buy from 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I'm not friends with any of those kids that I knew at that time, but I really wish I was, because I would love to run this by them, be like, do you remember this? Is this exactly how this happened? Because that's how I remember it.
Yeah, weird days. Weird days back then.
Super weird.
Pervy days.
Pervy days. All right, well, that's enough for this portion of the show. How we end up in these rabbit holes, I guess we could track the record and like go back and listen, but it's always confusing to me.
It started with Joel Tudor, then went to Andrew Kidman, then went to perversion. That's the three.
And it was John Waters last week. That's what it was. That you look like John Waters. And now, anyways, let's move on. Let's go to commercial break. We'll come back with Barrel or Not. All right, welcome back to the show. I have no good reason to play this drop, but I just want to play it for you to make you.
I never thought I'd be in Myrtle Beach.
Just for the heck of it.
Just to keep on with the perversion theme.
Yep.
No one was quite as perverted as Stevie Janowski.
Oh God, so good, man.
What has that guy gone on to do? Is he in anything?
I looked him up a while ago, and I think he was on like a sitcom on like ABC at 8 o'clock or something. Nothing that you and I would ever encounter.
Dang. Bring Stevie back.
There was that, remember, where he's wearing Kenny Powers' G-string.
Yeah.
Kenny looks at me, he's like, Stevie, is that my underwear? And Stevie's like, oh, don't worry, I got him out of the dirty clothes. So wrong. Okay, let's get back to the show. This is a listener call that I'm going to use to set up a Barrel or Not.
Hey, this is Aveen up in Washington State calling in for Grit for Chaz and DLS. And a response to March 6th podcast where the Barrel or Not was having an energy gel pack in your wetsuit. I just want to call in to describe why emphatically this is no barrel. And as someone who lives in the far Pacific Northwest, offer some alternatives that are good tools to live by. So I agree, turning surfing into some kind of marathon thing where you think you need to take an athletic gel to continue to perform is missing the point. Very few people surf that long, and I would posit that could only come from a uniquely European kind of kookiness. I feel like that kind of take it serious, wear spandex, treat it as like an Olympic sport thing is like so uniquely Euro kook. Maybe that's something you could discuss as well. As an alternative, though, we all wear hooded wetsuits up here, right? So in the summer, when it's small, you can actually securely hold one beer in the hood of your wetsuit when it's down, paddle out, provided it's a mellow day, not too many duck dives, and on a sunny day, when it's small and inconsequential, you can just, between sets, crack yourself a cold one. When you're done with it, you can crunch the can, stick it underneath the fold of your chest zip of your wetsuit. Likewise with that chest zip, when it's the opposite, and it's wintertime and it's freezing and the water is like 45 degrees, you can actually secure a little plastic whiskey shooter underneath your chest zip fold, right next to the zipper, right by your chest. It disappears when it's in there, and then you'll be out there in the harsh offshore wind and have a little warm pick-me-up. But I think you guys are getting at kind of the semantic boundary of this, which is that the only thing that it is acceptable to try to bring with you in your wetsuit to consume is some kind of party favor. There's a tool to live by. A response to last week, work, being in Washington State.
Barrel or Not, drinking while surfing.
I was going to say no, but this guy convinced me so much. I'm all about make surfing dirty again, right? Like surfing's, I mean, it's been my long time crusade of surfing, getting all professional and clean and all of it. No, it's a derelict backwater. It's what it is. So making it or keeping it a derelict backwater, all for it. I personally would not enjoy drinking in the lineup, but I am all about other people doing it.
I'm going no. I'm going no barrel for me. I I like drinking and I like surfing. Don't need to marry the two.
Yeah, that's true.
And I like the idea of working really hard, playing really hard, and then going in and enjoying a refreshment afterwards.
I mean, I totally hear that. That would be my inclination as well. But particularly, I think that the beer in the hood, I was like, yeah, beer in the lineup. It's kind of like, but then I was thinking about getting wind whipped and having a little bit of whiskey, and not for like boozy purposes, but just for the warming of whiskey. Then I was like, oh man, this is like Ernest Hemingway going surfing style.
It is. It's I also, though, you will be affected by the alcohol intake, and I don't know that I need to lessen my surf experience or to numb the surf experience. Like, I want to be in it.
I totally hear you, but again, track with me on the whiskey here. You're out there, it's freezing, you're all stiff already, right? You're more stiff than you would be. You're not having bringing a bottle of Jack Daniels in the lineup. You're bringing I heard him say like a one serving thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's not going to get
bottles.
Yeah, that's not going to get you boozy. That'll get you both warm and loosen you up just a touch.
I also don't like the idea of having a bottle in my wetsuit.
A little plastic one?
Even a little plastic one. That just feels weird.
You know what you could do with it when you're done? You go throw it on Andrew Kidman's yard. Or I mean, the yard of the Kira Surf Club, I guess, not his yard.
Yeah. The only circumstance that it would have to be frigid. When you see those like Great Lakes surfers in Michigan, with icicles, I would actually insist on having it there.
Okay, but one small step down from there. I grew up surfing in Oregon. Washington's even colder, right? It is cold up there. Like, it is cold. It's like wet, damp cold.
Reserving this for icicles.
Okay. I'm going to take it. I'm going to say Pac Northwest. I'm going to say this guy is now my hero.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
We'll remain divided here. Another barrel or not. Email subject said bowl plate hybrid thingy. I'm like, what? So I open the email. It says, DLS and Chaz, good morning from your favorite blow-in. I don't know which term y'all prefer for this wonderful household item, the pasta bowl, the blate, B-L-A-T-E, etc. But I think this is such a wonderful barrel that I'm curious if there's any use for a normal flat plate anymore. Which food is better from a lame old flat plate versus a nice wide deep plate/bowl hybrid thingy? Let me know your thoughts. Twerk, Jonah in Barrington.
Jonah, I almost completely agree, except foreign. There is something about a steak on the flattest surface possible. A steak on a plate is okay, but there's still bend to a plate. A steak on like a cutting board, kind of like at one of those, steakhouses, is like perfection. Something about the more flat you can get for a steak, the better.
Well, the other thing you're factoring in here is you're using a knife to cut the steak, and if there's any curvature of the bowl, the lip is going to get in the way of the knife.
Yes.
So you do want a flat surface for that.
But other than steak, there is not one thing I can think, because the bowl plate hybrid, you get all the jus of whatever you're eating better. It's easier to gather and eat. All of it it's a better experience across the board, except for steak.
I totally agree, and I've never even shared this thought with anybody else, but I internally have such an appreciation and deep love for a shallow bowl.
Yes.
Like there's a certain type of bowl that I want, and he says pasta bowl, so I think that's what he's referring to. It's not the depth of a cereal bowl.
No, it's not. It doesn't go vertical ever.
It's wider and it's shallow.
Yes.
And it's somehow perfectly, because it's like as you're working your way through the dish, like a child, when my toddler, they're learning how to use a fork. You want to push up against an edge to get everything. And so that's the way that thing works, is it just kind of like keeps everything in the center somewhat, and you can work against it and gravity to get the perfect bite.
I wonder what's happening, because I feel that all sensible people feel this and do this. I wonder if Big Plate is bummed. If they've seen fortunes dropping for years now, and they don't know how to counter. They're like, man, how do we make plate sexy again?
They should have pivoted and just got into the curvature business.
Too late. Yeah. The curvature business is like full.
Yep. You know what I made 2 nights ago that was just, it's one of my favorite dishes. Like a classic kind of Hawaiian plate lunch, teriyaki chicken, mac salad, some element of vinegar, like we did. Rice. Yeah, white rice. The vinegar for us was cucumbers and white onion, you know, like cucumber salad basically. And then a little slaw too to go with it, like a Asian type slaw with cabbage. That combination of things is perfection.
The bleed that you get,
yes,
from one to the next, with the white rice there to capture and soak it up, can't be beat. The Hawaiian plate lunch, done right, I would put as one of the best meals on earth.
Really, truly is.
Yep.
And I added pineapple as well to the plate, and sriracha. You got to finish with sriracha.
Yeah.
So like different hot sauces for different dishes, but that dish, sriracha, is so perfect.
And in a bowl, you can't do that on a plate.
Definitely.
You're going everywhere on a plate, and or a styrofoam tray that you can also throw in the Kira board riding club when you're finished.
This is why I brought it up, was because the bowl works so that the bleed that you're talking about, it almost like naturally encourages the bleed to all kind of come together in the right proportion.
Man, it's making me hungry for a plate lunch.
Dude, and I made the teriyaki sauce for the first time ever, because I've tried doing this dish over the years various times, but I use store-bought teriyaki and it just never quite hits right. The homemade teriyaki was phenomenal. Like, all 3 of us were like, we got to do this weekly. It was crazy.
Brown sugar?
Yeah, it's not as much brown sugar as you would think. It is soy sauce, pineapple juice, mostly cane sugar. It's a lot of cane sugar, and then just a little bit of brown sugar.
Send me the recipe.
I will. It's on the New York Times. Your wife uses that, right? The New York Times cooking app.
Sure does.
Yeah, there was another ingredient too. If I could pull it up real quick, I'll just tell you. So those things that I said. Oh, a cinnamon stick. Ooh. So you put a whole cinnamon stick, a lot of black pepper, fresh ginger, a lot of garlic, and those other things I mentioned, and you cook it. You basically just reduce it down. So, and then you throw out the cinnamon stick, but it's perfection.
Cannot wait.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Okay, final barrel or nah. Fellas, Christianity, Buddhism, Brahma Kumaris, and the grit. Who would have thought 2 old surfers on a potty would give so much? After hearing the conversation reflecting on the early days of the grit until now, I feel like I am on the journey side by side with you. From arrogant, harsh, sarcastic, and controversial to a calm, more considered wisdom, and it warms my heart. I even recently ventured into the world of the thing that we will not talk about. All right, good to know. Now he gets to the barrel or nah. Barrel or nah, rock and roll dance classes with the wife. Work, Stav.
Wow.
We could broaden this out to just dance classes.
Dance classes with the wife. You know what? Barrel. Anything at this point. So along with the arc of age here at the grit, it's important to both keep challenging yourself physically, to keep challenging yourself mentally. It's more important now than it was 20 years ago or 10 years ago when we started, right?
Yeah.
Challenge yourself mentally, challenge yourself physically, challenge yourself socially, right? The rut of age is true. And fighting that rut is almost more important than anything else, right? So of course you're going to look like a kook. Of course you're going to be saying, people are going to look at you like you're a kook. You're going to be meeting kooks. Anyone who's taking a rock and roll dance class is a kook, right? Like the instructor's a kook. All of you're just hopping feet first into straight kookdom. That is all worth it to stay out of the rut.
Completely agree. And then additionally, anything that you could do as a joint activity with your wife is just a good idea. You know, like like, and presume whether you've been married for 1 year or 20 years, it's kind of like you need to make these active efforts to do stuff like that. Getting out of your comfort zone, like you said, is actually difficult for both of you, for her as well as you. And so doing that together is a bonding experience. And I also think dancing has come up on the show over the years a bit. Very few people are just naturally good dancers, but it's something that you can practice and get good at. And you will be in an environment at some point where you could rely on that skill. So you might
totally. And I'm going to say you maybe never will get good, but it's something you could practice and get competent at.
Yeah.
And I've never taken a dance class, or I've taken a couple ballet classes, but not enough to actually see any improvement in anything. But I'd have to think that if you improved in dancing, your surfing would get a percentage better. There's no way that it couldn't, right? You're loosening your limbs, you're loosening your hips, your joints, all of it. You're, more flowy. It's got to improve your surfing.
You're more in touch with your body and the way that your body moves.
Yep,
So
exactly.
that would work.
Yeah.
And I was at first thinking this is something that a wife would pitch to the husband and the husband might drag his feet about, and that's why he's asking. But invite your wife. You want to really blow your wife's mind? Be like, hey, honey, I signed us up for dance classes.
The only question I have here, I have two questions. One is, we'll shelve that one. Why rock and roll dancing? Like, what is rock and roll dancing? Like Beatles? Like dancing to the Beatles? Because it's not moshing. It wouldn't be, what is rock and roll dancing? Is it like rockabilly? Like Brian Setzer or Stray Cat kind of thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because you're right. Rock and roll is hard to define. Like
it's got to be Stray Cats, rockabilly kind of dancing.
Because if you're like, when I think rock and roll, I think 70s rock and roll.
But you just like danced weird to that.
Yeah. So, or even 80s and 90s, I guess too. Yeah. If they start playing, let's say Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle, I can't think of an appropriate dance.
There's not one, I don't think. Yeah. It's like just jumping up and down and whatever, right? People weren't dancing. But have you seen, for example, like the Japanese rockabilly enthusiasts, they get all done up in their denims and their leather jackets and their pompadour hairdos, and they go to some park. It's worth a YouTube. And they just dance. Like they play rockabilly music. And so I wonder if that's what he's going to learn, is that kind of dancing.
Yeah, I think there's probably a pretty broad definition of rock and roll for this dance class.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess so. Maybe if it's a rock. So how do you dance to The Cure? How do you dance to the Beatles? How do you dance to et cetera, et cetera?
Now that I'm thinking about it, rock and roll is like the least danceable music.
Yeah. I mean, because there's nothing structured about it. You just move. I mean, there's nothing structured in most of it. Like in ska, whatever, which I guess is not rock and roll. Then I can think of subgenres, but I mean, I guess rockabilly is the only one where I can think where there is dancing.
Well, I just Googled what is a rock and roll dance class, and it seems to be a genre of dance.
Okay, so maybe it's something that's...
The AI overview says, teaches a high-energy, fast-paced partner dance characterized by 6-beat or 4-beat rhythm featuring kicks, turns, and sometimes acrobatics.
Got it. So it's like swing to rock music.
I guess so.
Okay.
There's a
it's a style of dancing.
It's a style of dancing more than it is a style of music.
Got it.
From the history from swing dance, which came into being in 1920, and then it incorporates acrobatic elements, later modified to suit faster music, spawning dance steps to accompany rock and roll as the genre developed. Today's rock and roll dance has gone far beyond these origins, especially in the gymnastic moves. So these are people throwing each other into somersaults and stuff like that.
Great.
Crazy.
Well, have at it, man. Have at that dance class, barrel.
Yeah, have fun with the wife.
Yeah, enjoy yourself. I was going to ask, there for sure is activities that are a full no barrel to do with your wife no matter what. Going to baby showers, that's one. We've already discussed that one. I'm gonna be racking my brain this week for the other. Wife asks and you say no because you basically given up at that point.
There's definitely, I'm gonna have to think about it, but there's definitely some.
Yeah, because I don't want people to go out there. I don't want listeners to go out there and think, wife asked me anything, it's a green light. No, there is certain that are absolute red lights. No, no, no. Unsafe at any speed.
Definitely agree. We'll think about it. Come back to it. All right, listeners, thanks for our wonderful submissions, written in, called in, all of it. We appreciate it. Keep them coming. Keeps the show flowing so that we don't have to talk about Joel Tudor every week or Kelly Slater.
It's so true. Or Dirk Ziff.
Or we still will. We still will talk about them. We just won't talk about them for the entire 90 minutes. And then also, if you want to hear about non-surfing discussion, go over to Noble Rot. Check that out on Mondays.
Fine subject matter this week. I don't know what it is yet, but no doubt will be fine.
Cannot wait for Monday. And then also go on Patreon to get extra fine grit if you want more of the salacious that doesn't make the cut for the grit. All right, until then.
Keep working.